So I was on the hunt for an audiobook in my library to listen to while I was playing Stardew Valley, and up comes Stephenie Meyer's name. But on a book that I've never heard of before. And thus began my mistake. So this is The Chemist. It's about this woman who used to be a scientist, or maybe a doctor, who was developing chemical ways to torture people better. And she developed such a good reputation for torturing people that she got a nickname, The Chemist. But then her shadow government organization tries to have her killed and she has to go on the run, and she doesn't know why. So the premise of this story is already flawed because, as so a few people know, torture doesn't work. Anything someone tells you while being tortured is next to useless. Flawed premise aside, it still sounds really interesting, and Stephenie's not that bad at writing action. So I borrow it. For the first half of the book, not even the first, no, that's too generous. The first third of the book, I was really into it. It was all about how she booby traps her apartments and she's living on the run, under the radar, under all these different names, and like how she poisoned everything. Like she's got poison rings and she's like hooked it up so that if someone opens her window, it releases a gas and it kills them within seconds. And it was really cool. It was actually really cool. I was like, oh my god, Stephenie Meyer wrote a super cool female character. Is this planet Earth? Then we get a love interest. And it all goes downhill. Because that's when we find out what the story is really about. A man falling in love with his torturer. And for no good discernible reason either. Like, it's insta-love. It's insta-love while under the influence of like an ecstasy cocktail. He gets roofied and falls in love with her. And you know what? The character, he's actually like a super nice kind of decent guy, so that makes that whole situation even worse. But don't worry, that highly questionable scene keeps on delivering, because while he was roofied, he asks the main character, Alex, a question. Let me reenact. "What do you like about Mexico?" she asked carefully. "The weather is hot and dry. I enjoy that. I've never lived in a really hot place, but I think I would like it. I get burned though. I've never been able to tan. You look like you've spent some time in the sun." "No, just born this way." She got her coloring from her absentee father. What? Stephenie, I am but a simple farmer romancing emo boys and getting in his mother's bed. You cannot drop a line like that on me. You cannot do that. But before I could process that, she drops another line on us. She goes on to say that her father is Korean, Hispanic, and Welsh. And then she elaborates saying that her mother, pure Scottish. Now, I understand that genetics are a mixed bag, but how dark can she be? Just realistically, how dark could she be? And to the point where a person comments on it. While roofied, a roofied man commented on how dark she is. How did he even notice? I mean, Stephenie Meyer should have just went the whole racist route and just made him a black man. That would have made more sense, like, physically. It would have been like 10 times more racist, but it would have made sense visually. But before I could process that, she drops another line on us. Going on to say that this combo of genetics gave her an oddly ordinary face. A face that looks like she can come from anywhere. That's when it got personal, because that is describing my life pre-20s. I am mixed like 10 ways from Sunday. My 23andMe is a rainbow. No one knew what I was growing up. Nobody. Everyone assumed that I was whatever vaguely brown ethnicity they knew of, and that they were not themselves. You don't know how many times people ask me if I was an Eskimo or Hawaiian. But anyway, that all boils down to me taking offense at the oddly ordinary face comment, because I clean up very nice. But after that, the middle of this book happens, and I barely remember any of it. I was on board with the running away and the poisoning the house and the killing people and even torturing the dude. I was kind of on board with torturing the dude. I was kind of wondering how that was going to pan out. Then he gets rescued by his twin brother, Kevin. And the whole story just falls apart. His name is Daniel, by the way. So it's Daniel and his twin brother, Kevin. And then the main character, Alex. Daniel, Kevin, Alex. Okay? So after he gets rescued, they find out that she had been tricked into torturing him to get her killed, as well as the twin brother. Because it was really hard to track the twin brother down. So they figured if they got Daniel and started torturing him, then it would draw him out of hiding, which, worked. Then Kevin sticks Daniel and Alex together into a safe house, and Kevin gets to go off and do the story, while Daniel and Alex sit around in the house and fall in love. For the briefest of moments before this happened, I thought maybe it was gonna turn into like a love triangle with like the two twins and her. And right as I got that thought, Stephenie Meyer put in a line of Alex watching the two twins sleep, and she said how hot it is watching over the two of them. So I was like, are they gonna all end up together? I highly doubt Stephenie is gonna write that. But no, Kevin hates her guts because she was torturing his little brother. As he should. But really, I could not get over the fact that Kevin was off screen for like half the book, and he was the one doing the story that we were promised. It was supposed to be an assassination plot. He was the one setting everything up, and then the main character was just in a house with her new boyfriend and a strange roommate and a bunch of dogs. And then someone kills the roommate and a couple of dogs. So yeah, this is basically just this supposedly super badass character reduced to a girlfriend. And then her going through like this euphoric, first love bliss together, living in this house and discovering what might have been if she had a normal life. Your characters should not be less interesting when they fall in love with someone. Oh, and by the way, did I mention that these are like 30-something-year-olds who have had relationships before? Daniel was married and divorced. Alex has been like, getting things where she could be getting them. But you would never know that if it wasn't said explicitly on page, because they read like 17-year-olds who've never dated before. Because this is Twilight. Let me elaborate on that. Alex, basically walking poison. She calls herself a monster, but refuses to kill innocent people. Her love interest's life is constantly in danger from knowing her. He's better off without her. There's a huge power imbalance. The love interest is totally in over his head, and he's treated like a child because of that. There's talk of the love interest giving up a normal happy life to be with her. She mentions at one point that living life on the run, the life he had before it gets dimmer, which is like straight out of Twilight of how it is once you become a vampire. She's basically Edward. And she has one Bella attribute in that she was raised by a single mother who was completely incompetent. And there are like other similarities between her and Renee that I honestly can't remember right now, and there's no way in hell that I am listening to this book again to figure out those little details. So you could choose whether you believe me or not on that. Oh, this kind of went off the rails. There's not much else to say about this book because I completely lost the plot in the middle, and I was just thinking to myself, please, dear God, let this end soon. Just let it be over. We're kidnapping a kid now? Okay. We're poisoning a man by sabotaging his nicotine patches? Okay. Daniel, the love interest, just got shot? Sweet. He lives, of course. that'll be my closing statement, my closing complaint, if you will. So, Daniel is like a mirror twin of Kevin. So he has situs inversus, which is like all your organs are on the other side of your body, which is a real thing, and it's like super cool. And when it was mentioned in the beginning, I remembered that because it was super cool. But Little Miss Doctor did not remember that the man she just fell in love with has situs inversus, and that was the last straw in this book for me. But anyway, he lives because the guy who shot him in the heart, but his heart's on the other side of his chest, so he lived. And they took him to a veterinarian to get surgery, and Alex operated on him. But she's like a biochemist. So a biochemist operated on a man shot in the chest at a veterinarian's office with a vet's medical supplies. And he still lived. That's how this book ended. Actually, there was like a 5-minute thing at epilogue that I barely paid attention to, because I was like, oh my god, there's an epilogue, why are you doing this to me? From like the vague impression I got, all 3 of them were living together happily ever after. I guess maybe it was like a throuple situation after all. Stephenie Meyer says poly rights. Instead of sisters' wives, it's brother husbands. Except they're actually brothers. That's kind of gross. Maybe, okay. Cancel that joke. Yeah, I don't know. If you feel like torturing yourself, read this book. It blew my mind. No wonder no one talks about it. Oh god, maybe it was a love triangle after all. Bye.